It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrone Lowe, host and producer of the show The Legends. And in my show today, in the House of the Legends, I have the incredible DJ and producer, DJ SPEN. DJ SPEN, what's going on, dude?
That was my bad. What's up, Tyrone? How are
That's
you?
okay, man. How you feeling, man?
I'm good. No complaints.
We're gonna talk to you about the beginning of when you actually got into music. Now,
Okay.
I know that you got into it at an early age. So tell the viewers about
Right.
that.
Well, I started out at 13. I basically kind of, well, the professional side of what I do is music just grew out of a love that I had for music at an early age. But that was the result of being in a house with, two older brothers, both, 13 plus years older than myself. And, parents that were very much into singing in church. And my mom was one of 13 kids, and they had like an all girls kind of gospel group that went around South Central Virginia, singing songs back, as early as the 40s. So that was going on. So music was always a part of it, a part of me growing up. And then man, one day I heard these cats on a local AM station around here that James Brown used to own called WEBB. And they were doing this kind of, I guess, Latin Rascals style mixes with, Houdini's Magic Wand and playing a bunch of other records and. So it was kind of really crazy, but it was stuff that I was already kind of doing in my basement,
Right.
like taking a pause button tape deck that I had, that my brothers sort of left me. And, I was, creating like, extended breaks out of like records like Good Times and stuff like that. Not even knowing, man, what was going on in New York with the whole scratch and
Okay.
all of that. But anyway, long story short, man, I recorded what I was doing one day and took it to the radio station. The guy kind of looked at me. He was like, "Oh, you're a young buck. Okay, I'll take it and I'll listen to it."
Right.
And I came home from school, man, the next day, and he was playing it. I was like, "Yo, what in the
Wow.
world is going on?" So that was kind of my introduction into just being in it. That history sort of writes itself after that.
Being at a young age, being musically inclined, who were your early influences?
Dang, man, that early. I, I at that age, I would have, because I was really heavily into what was going on in sort of like the hip hop kind of scene that was bubbling under. But I would have to say at the time, especially then, like Chic, man. Bernard
Okay.
Edwards and now Rogers was kind of like
Right. He was hot, man. And he still is.
yeah, man. It just he or at the time they realistically, because to be honest with you, I was in love with Bernard Edwards more than Nile Rodgers. What Bernard Edwards was doing to those bass lines, man,
Right.
was like, yo, who is this dude that's playing these bass lines? I'd never heard anybody play bass like that. Outside of, the dude from Slave was real good, but he was just dirty. It was nasty.
Yeah. He
But
had a more of
Bernard,
a thump type of bass line.
yeah, it was stumpy, but I don't even know. I don't even know how to explain that. Like Brothers Johnson to me is thump bass
Okay.
line.
All right. Yeah.
What the dude in Slave was doing was completely different. He was like sliding with a thump, but Bernard Edwards was just clean. It was just
Right.
I never heard. I don't think anything that clean with funk attached to it. You know,
Okay.
everything else was kind of dirty. You know, Bootsy Collins and all. They were just it was like a lot of dirt with the funk. But he brought this cleanliness that was like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Doesn't work.
Going back to as far as that's concerned, you
Hmm.
know, who was your influence as far as a DJ? Who did you actually wanted to be like? Because we all got that when we first started. You know,
Yeah,
we're looking at him, we're watching him play,
yeah,
we're watching his persona, we're watching the way that he actually groove and
yeah,
his personality, his body
yeah,
language.
yeah.
Um, tell me, who was that person for you?
Okay. Um, I think the first time I really heard like a DJ, because understand what I mean, man. I went to Catholic school, so my parents were like really heavy on me about not really doing anything. It was like almost like I think it was like every mistake that my brothers made, they turned around and said, "Oh, we're not making that mistake with him." So I didn't do anything. The radio was my sort of outlet. And
Hmm.
when my brothers brought music home, that was sort of an outlet. So my brother brought home a tape by this guy named Wayne Davis. I didn't know what in the world he was doing, but he
Hmm.
was taking Trans Europe Express and mixing it with numbers. And, it wasn't like the beat matching was anything. Then he was playing Martin Circus and stuff. But A, it was records I'd never heard. And
Right.
B, he was putting them together like I'd never heard it.
Hmm.
So I would have to say that from the onset, it was probably that dude Wayne Davis. But when I heard the adventures of Grandmaster Flash on the Wheels of Steel,
Okay.
Grandmaster Flash really kind of set it
Set
in
the trend.
yeah,
Set the trend at the time.
he set a thing in my mind because look, I wasn't going to Studio 54. I wasn't going to Paradise Garage. I wasn't even going to Odell's, which was like the biggest club here.
I hear you.
I was
Right.
13. So,
Right.
I didn't do anything. So everything that I was picking up, man, if it wasn't on TV or if it wasn't on the radio, I kind of wasn't getting it. Or, we had cousins that lived in New York. So every now and again, we would drive through Philadelphia. And I tell you who was the other person. So
Hmm.
Grandmaster Flash, to answer your question, is Grandmaster Flash, this guy Wayne Davis that was from here,
Hmm.
and Jazzy Jeff. Man, we would drive up to New York. I remember driving up to New York and we were coming back one Sunday afternoon.
Hmm.
And Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince were on the radio. So man, we like on the Jersey Turnpike checking this out, and I'm
Hmm.
like, who is this guy, and what is he doing to these records? Um, so from that perspective, that's where it sort of started with me. I didn't get into really understanding what nightclub DJing was completely about until I started, growing up a little bit more and was able to hear Tommy Davis and Teddy Douglas and some of the other Baltimore guys, and then that turned into me checking out Tony Humphries, Timmy Registered, etc. So that's kind of how my
So my
thing was
question,
put
so
together.
my question to you is, when did you start collecting vinyl?
Oh man, I think the first piece of vinyl that I actually paid for was Evelyn Champagne King's Shame on 45, and that was probably 78. But again, man, I had two older brothers, so I was blessed to be left with a lot of music when they moved out. I don't think that they knew what they were doing, but man, I have everything from from early Hendrix stuff to some really crazy soul stuff, disco stuff, because they just left everything. And so I kind of inherited a lot of my earlier music collection. So even before I really started buying records, I already kind of had a foundation sort of
Okay.
set in because of my family.
My question is, what was your first turntables and mixer?
The very first mixer that I had was a Newmark mixer.
Okay.
It was no, I take it back. I think the first one was a Gemini, and then I
Okay.
moved over to a Newmark. So I think the first mixer I had, man, I probably didn't even have until like 81.
Right.
which was a little 2-channel thing. The first turntable, okay, the ones that I inherited from my brother was, the old 45 stack, turntable kind of thing. I don't even know what that was, and he left some type of a Technique turntable at home too.
Okay.
I don't know what the number was, but then when I eventually ended up buying stuff, my first real sort of pair was Technique Pioneer PL4 belt drive turntables.
Okay. So were you scratching then, or were you blending?
Oh yeah, a combination of both.
Okay.
As a hip hop DJ back when we were doing it,
Hmm.
you had to kind of be familiar with a little bit of everything,
Right.
and hip hop wasn't as dominant as it became to be. A little bit later, 83, 84.
Right.
So yeah, man, we had to play, every little bit of everything. It was crazy, but yeah, and from that aspect, we had to blend.
Right.
Planet Rock and Numbers and Planet Patrol and Yaz Situation and all of these records. I mean, it
Right.
required you had to know how to play, and blending was a part of it.
Okay. And in the beginning, like your first gigs, what was your crowd like? And what was their response?
First gig I ever did, man, was a hip hop gig at the what used to be the Baltimore Civic Center. And Davey DMX had come to town. They were promoting this record called One for the Treble,
Hmm.
and I had no real understanding of it. I just, it was just kind of like get in front of the crowd, do your thing. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And fortunately enough for me, even back then, I was so animated with it and crazy that a lot of what I did, unless I actually played something people didn't like, they were just really into it. So it was. The crowds were somewhat different. And we did a lot of house parties, school parties. There was a lot that was going on. Just because we were on the radio, we kind of were able to sort of move and go into different places, skating
Hmm.
rinks and that sort of thing. That we normally probably wouldn't have had a chance to go into. So from that standpoint, the crowd varied.
Okay.
I probably didn't even work work in front of a consistent crowd
Right.
until I was in probably my last year of high school, going into college. I played at this club called Godfrey's Famous Ballroom.
Okay.
That was probably, and I did that every Friday night. So that was the beginning of me, really learning how to curtail what I was doing to fit a particular audience, because that audience was definitely a lot more set in
Right.
stone than any audience I had ever had before.
So through that early stage of actually playing, how did you develop the actual craft of reading the dance floor?
Um, Man, that probably right around that point. Playing at Godfrey's Famous Ballroom helped me to understand what was going on, sort of like with my peers. Um, and made me pay attention to, okay, here's what you need to do here, here's what you need to do this hour, this is what you need to do here. And DJing back then, shoot, we were playing 4 or 5 hours at a time.
Right.
So you would have to know what to do when people were coming in. You would have to know what to do when everybody was in, and you sort of would have to know how to land the plane. Like a pilot. Your takeoff, your cruise, and your landing. So had to figure that out pretty quickly. And once I figured it out, that was smooth sailing. And then from there, man, I was doing flashback Saturday night dance parties, specific hip hop type parties. And the flashback thing that I was doing was really interesting, because I was like, man, I'm under 20 and I'm playing, these flashback kind of classics and stuff, of what I think, that this crowd really wanted to hear. And man, I never forget, my program director, who was at the radio station at the time. He comes over to me and he says, "Okay, yeah, you doing all right, but you need to play one thing." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Play Flashlight." I say what? I was like, why would they want to hear Flashlight? And it just went in my mind. I played Flashlight, the place went off. So I've had quite a few humbling experiences where, I'm doing what I'm doing, and they're like, "Hey, you're doing all right, but why don't you play this?"
Okay.
And it helped me to not only be a little bit more open-minded when it came to relating to a crowd,
Right.
but it also made me start looking intently. Because so to this day, I can't stand a dance floor that's not happening. If a dance floor is not happening, then it's, it makes it tough for me. It's not that I can't do it
Right.
or can't just plow through it, but, it gives me no satisfaction now to
Well,
just plow through it.
we're going to take a slight break, and we'll be back with DJ SPEN.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.
We got some fun people in the house tonight.
This is our house.
Now that I know Jesus paid it all for me. Now that I know Jesus gave his life. Now I know that by his blood I've been set free. And I can walk in victory. I've got the love. Oh yeah. I've got the love. Oh, I've got the love.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tyrone Lowe. We're back with super DJ, producer, DJ SPEN. What's up, SPEN?
What's up, Ty?
You're incredible, man. You know why? Because I get a lot of music, and about every week, I get like 2 or 3 tracks from you, man. I'm like, how does he put the time in to do all this production? Let's talk about that.
Oh man. To be honest with you, when I started working at Basement Boys in the late '80s, early '90s, they just done Crystal Waters and had acquired this killer studio, and I had sort of my own dedicated creative space, that wasn't at home. It's kind of like, you get up every day, you go to work, and I went up every day, and if I wasn't working at the radio station or I wasn't working at the record store, I was doing what I was doing at Basement Boys. So long story short, I guess I just fell into a work ethic, a habit of, wake up, let's go to work, and let's be creative while we're working. So I've been doing that for years. And then, when I stopped working radio, because, the traveling had picked up and, the record store, long gone. It was just one of those things. If I wasn't on the road, I was, in the studio Monday through Friday, weekends, boom, off. Back working, back again, and it was kind of like what we did, first with Maurice Fulton, then with then Charisma, and man, we were all in that building learning the trade.
Okay.
We were learning how to do stuff, and I think that sort of never left. So when, we started doing Code Red, it was sort of the same thing. You sort of, wake up, go to the studio, do what you're doing, and it also helped create the separation between his family time, his work time, a lot of people, get into, and I do as well, a lot. It's like, it's hard to like separate the creative thing from work, because the creative thing comes when the creative thing comes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just, that could be 2 a.m, that could be midnight, you just never know. But I've kind of conditioned myself to, sort of be, it's 9 or whatever it is, whatever time I wake up. Sometimes I wake up, man, and it's like 5 a.m. and I'm rolling all the way around until, it's, it's time to stop working. Now, most of the production and everything I'm doing is pretty much remote.
Right.
So, I have a laptop, I carry around, with me when I'm gigging and all of that. And, man, and then, blessed with a lot of people who we can collaborate with together.
Right.
And it's just a phenomenal thing. So, having a keyboardist like Gary Hudgens or being able to work with Real Soul, we don't work in the same room, but I think we've developed and are able to communicate well enough, what our ideas are back and forth.
Right.
That, it's just a phenomenal thing, man. And, when the pandemic hit, we just kept
Right. I hear you.
rolling. And we just
Ben,
kept doing what we do.
Okay. Spen, let's talk about some of the artists that you actually did production with. Let's hear a few of them.
Tasha LaRae right now is one of our main artists that we work with. She is out of Atlanta. She used to work with Arrested Development. She's done that for years.
Okay.
Which I think is how she really honed her craft. But man, working with her is just a dream, because she can write and she can sing. So that has been really good. Sheila Ford is another one. We've been working with Sheila since forever. And man, I don't think skill wise level that there's anybody else we work with that has her technical skill. It's just she's just phenomenal. We also work with Thomas Fruity Roberts, Vonita White, Richard Burton, who collectively make Jasper Street Company on top of it.
Okay.
So, again, I think the first record I ever did was with Fruity in the room, which was A Feeling. And, we've been working together ever since. And, talk about a phenomenal talent, man. I mean, this guy, he can play, he can preach, and he can sing. His energy is phenomenal.
Okay. I'm going to say one word to you. Gospel House.
I guess you want me to just.
I really shouldn't even say no more.
So much that I can counter with you saying that.
I think I just say that word, and that would just take it away. Let me tell you something, man. I'm inspired with Gospel House because I do a lot of Gospel House. I have a lot of mixtape Gospel House, and to see you actually do your thing on your show, your BPM all the way. You know what I'm saying? Right. That's true. To me, that's true professionalism and really a passion. So I have to accommodate you with that. So Gospel House.
Okay. I think that when I heard, I want to say I Get Lifted. Between I Get Lifted and Beautiful People and, those records, those were the records that really kind of sit with me. Those early Masters at Work, Barbara Tucker type records. But Basement Boys did this record, and this is right when I had just started working with them, called Lift Every Voice. It had, live bass line and, these two guys talking about lift every voice. It was an anthem, man. Just a anthem. And that record sparked within me, or reminded me that, dude, you come from that. Your family comes from that. And I can
identify with that, I really can,
and it just those records I think even made me, because when I say I was a hip hop guy, man, I was a hip hop guy. I was so deeply involved with what was happening in the hip hop scene. And then all of a sudden, it kind of took a turn. And what I mean by that is like hip hop for me, especially like the earlier records, you talking records like The Message and
Right. Those classic things. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, these were records that really kind of spoke to me.
Right.
It wasn't like, they were just talking about what kind of car you have, how many girls do you have,
Right.
what kind of drugs you do, all of these kind of things. And when the 90s hip hop started coming around,
Right.
that became more so, it became so prevalent that it was almost like a turnoff for me,
Right.
in a lot of ways. And then here was this other stuff that was going on, the like I said, the Masters at Work records,
Right.
Barbara Tucker, dang, what's just the dude out of Jersey, Michael Watford,
Right. Okay.
like these records really, really like kind of like sparked
Right.
it just sparked the thing. And the thing was at the
Okay.
time too that I was reluctant somewhat
Okay. Well,
to really
Go ahead.
put my beliefs out there, because what I didn't want to do was to sort of alienate people, and sort of force what I believed on people. And in a lot of ways it's kind of like it's nobody's business really what I believe. What I believe is what I believe. But it just started coming and coming and coming. And the more I got involved with dance music, the more I felt like it was becoming a calling for me.
Okay.
Very,
So, SPEN,
very
can you tell
interesting.
the viewers how can they contact you? Email?
Sure. info@djspin.com and info@quantizerecordings.com, I believe. Oh, am I wrong? Contact us at quantizerecordings.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on my show, and
Oh man, the
you've been
pleasure
very
is
informative, to let people know about DJ SPEN. I'm still getting tracks from you, man. When's it going to stop?
I don't know, man. You had to talk to the man upstairs about that
Okay.
one, because he just keeps it.
All right. So
I guess
to
it's
my
not
viewers,
for
DJ SPEN, listen, support him. Hit him up. Give his music a chance. Buy it. Give him some feedback. And this has been another T-Lo Video Productions, and this is The Legends with DJ SPEN. And just stay tuned for another episode.
Thanks.
Y'all have a
Tyrone.
nice day.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
I'm New York City Health Commissioner Oxidis Barbeau. As the city's doctor, I have an urgent plea on behalf of all New Yorkers. Stay home. When you go out, you risk contracting or spreading coronavirus to others. You put others at risk of serious illness and even death. When you do have to go out for essentials like groceries or medicine, try to keep at least 6 feet between yourself and others. By staying home, you save lives.
It's not just mine, his or her house. This is our house.